Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. So for those who don't know, I'm Alicia and I've been interviewing inspirational people to find out exactly what makes them tick and how they've become who they are. This week I interviewed entrepreneur Jay Magson, who's had a few businesses before the age of 21, to find out exactly how he's done it and how he got there. Here's how it went. Hi, welcome.
Hi, are you alright?
Good, thank you. So, welcome to the channel. Thank you
Nice to be
very
here.
much for coming on. So, to begin with, um, all I want to ask you is you moved to Marbella when you were only
Mhm.
15.
Yeah.
What made you move?
So, I basically it was partly timing, and it was something that I've always wanted to move somewhere else. So where I lived is I lived in like quite a small town in Devon, one of them places where kind of everyone knows everyone, everybody knows each other from the different schools, and it was a really small area, and I think everybody can relate to that. And it was one of them things where I wanted to get away from it, and I kind of wanted to meet new people, experience something different. And I actually ended up getting glandular fever when I was at school, and I was off school for about 2 months maybe because I was really ill, wasn't allowed to go in, and things like that. So I was off school for a couple of months, and my grandparents they basically came to me, my mum and dad, and they said like, listen, we've been offered like a flat over in Spain, and we're going to go over and spend the summer there. And they kind of broke the news to us, and I kind of went away from it, and I thought, hang on a minute, like maybe I could be involved in this. How can I go with them? I mentioned it to my grandparents, and they said like, what are you going on about? Like, you need to speak to your mum and dad. Like, we're not getting involved with this until your mum and dad have said that it's okay. So my mum, she's kind of like the mum that doesn't want you to go. She wants you to stay. But if it's the best thing for you, she'll agree to it. Whereas my dad needs to like, he needs to see like the figures and like how much it's going to cost. Like I think like all dads are. And
Yeah.
what I had to do is I had to go through, me and my nan, we went through all like the private schools, like the English speaking schools and stuff in Spain, sent off all the emails, got all kind of like the prices and stuff like that. And then I basically had to pitch it to my dad and say like, listen, right, this is how much it's going to cost. I'm going to live with my grandparents. They're going to pay for this. I just need you to agree. And he did. And best thing I've ever done to this day. Like, moving there was probably the best thing I've ever done. Like, the people you meet, the things you saw, and stuff like that. It was unreal.
I mean, 15 is quite a fairly young age to move out of home.
Yeah,
Would you say that it forced you to grow up a lot quicker than what you perhaps would have done had you
a
stayed at home?
100%. Yeah, because I since coming back, especially, I found that kind of I felt a lot older than like other people my age. And well, I think a huge part of it was being able to have like a bit more of a social life when you're over there, because when you're younger in Spain, you can, like 15 years old, you can go to nightclubs, you can go to bars, you get served like no questions asked, no problem. And I think being able to do that, and like when I first moved there, and my friends were saying to me like, oh, let's go down to like the name of a bar, and I had no clue what this place was. I just assumed it was like a sports club or something. um, and we'd go out and then end up kind of buying beers and stuff, and I was like, wow, like I'm 15 years old getting served in a nightclub, like. And it was great, and that went on obviously until I turned 18, and then it got boring. Like, as soon as I turned 18, I was like, now I'm allowed to do it, it's not as fun anymore. And that's when other people my age were just kind of starting to go out, and I'd already done all that. I was already bored of all that sort of stuff. So I was kind of ready to, I think settle down's the wrong word, like, for being someone young, but like I was already set up to kind of put my head into like a career or starting a business or doing something like that, when everybody else was more focused on going out and drinking and doing all those sort of things. So I think in that aspect, it made me grow up very quickly. Although like a lot of people frown upon, like maybe like my grandparents letting me go out when I was 15, and my friends' parents let them go out when they're young, I think it only did good for us. Like, nothing bad ever happened. Like, and it was really good for us at the end of the day.
And what would you say the main thing it taught you whilst you were out there, whilst you were away from home? I know you mentioned you like were talking to a lot of people out there and
Mm.
made a lot more friends, but what did it teach you?
Well, I went from when I was at school in England, it was quite like a standard secondary school, like a couple of hundred people in each year, like just your average school in England. And because I went to Spain and I didn't speak any Spanish, like I had no choice but to go to a private school. And I think the people that I kind of met there, their like families, their parents and stuff like that were all very like wealthy people. They had a lot of money and kind of they had, yeah, everybody just kind of had this lifestyle that everybody dreams of. And I actually saw it in person when I was young. And I think that kind of gave me like a huge like drive and ambition, because I was like, wow, like these people have got it. How do I get that? Like what am I going to do to kind of make that my life? And I think that had a massive impact on me. Still to this day, I think about it every day, because like when I was in England before I went, I probably never really would have started dreaming about those sort of things. I wouldn't have even thought about it. It wouldn't come into my head. Whereas now I've seen the people that live like that, it kind of motivated me massively.
Yeah, and you started a business while you were over there as well, didn't you?
Yeah, so I've had, obviously we spoke before this, and I've had quite a few businesses and ideas. A lot of them not successful, and some of them have been really good. So when I think I was about 16, maybe 17. I was going out, like I said, like going out weekends and stuff like that. I had loads of friends, older, some were younger. Like my friend Callum was only 14, and we're going out to nightclubs and stuff like that. And when I look back on photos now, you can tell he looked about 12, 13. Like it was embarrassing that we were actually out, but at the time it was great fun. And obviously being that age and going out, we didn't have much money. Like I think my dad, he used to send me a little bit of money every month, but it didn't go very far at all. So my idea was to set up this like business type thing. It was more for like me and my mates to try and get free drinks than to make money from it. So well, what I did is I went to a few of the bars. Like obviously I knew quite a few bar owners and stuff like that from going out. And I basically said to him, I said like, look, I'll stand out on the streets and I said I'll get people into the bars, like I'll speak to people, I'll drag them in if I get like a free drink for every 2 people I bring in, or something like that. Things kind of escalated. I got kind of my friends roped in, so like they would do it, and then like things, like I said, they kind of escalated and I started doing like flyers and websites, and I kind of got a little bit of a name for myself for doing like marketing, even though it wasn't me doing it. So the bars would come to me and they'd say, oh, we need a flyer done or we need a menu redesigned. So I'd say, yeah, I could do that. And then I would phone my mate who was in England, who was a graphic designer, and I'd say, how much are you going to charge for this? He'd say it's going to cost 30 quid. So I'll go back to the bar and say, oh, it's £60. So I was making like the £30 margin in the
That's
middle. And
fantastic.
then that was my drinking fund for the weekend. So that's what I did. And although it wasn't necessarily unsuccessful, it wasn't successful because we just used it for drinking. But I still get a lot of it today. So we kind of rebranded that business, and last year or the year before, and it used to be called Magson Promotions, which is my surname, and now it's called Be Big Promotion. So it's got a little bit more of a professional look to it now. I don't really actively advertise it, but when people still come to me saying, can I have a website or can I have flyers done or something, at least it's like a bit more of a professional brand that they're talking to rather than just me. So it's not necessarily a proper business, but it's something that I've got on the side that I've continued to do to this day.
So
Definitely.
how did you find it when you came back to England?
Good question, that is. It was very difficult because I'd seen this kind of, like I said, I've seen this lifestyle. I've seen friends with big yachts and £1 million houses. And then I came back to England kind of in a little 4-bed house with my mum, dad, my brother and my sister. And just life wasn't really the same. Obviously, what happened is that my parents said to me when I was over there, they said like, look, the sixth form or the college, whatever it is over there, was really quite expensive. And they said to me, like, look, if you're going to put the work in and you're going to work hard, like, we'll pay for it for you. And I basically said to him, I said, I wouldn't want you to do that because I'm just going to piss your money away. Like, I hate school. I hate education. I hate all of that stuff. Like I said, if you pay for me to go there, I'm just going to mess about and waste your money. So I did the right thing and came back to England and agreed to go to college. Did a sports course because I just thought, why not? It will be easy. I have to go to college because they just changed the law to say that you had to go till you're 18.
Okay,
So it
yeah.
was like the first year that came in. So I did it for about 2-3 months, and I was like, this ain't for me. So I managed to get transferred onto a business course, and I thought I quite like this course, everything that involved in it, and that's where I found out that I really enjoyed the marketing. Obviously, I'd had this little business in Spain when I was there, so I thought, I kind of know what I'm doing. I've got a little bit of knowledge in it, so it was really good. And then what happened is I was in a marketing class with this teacher, and she wasn't very old. She must have been late 20s, like early 30s. And I'll never forget that she gave us this task to do, and it was a little bit like what you see on The Apprentice, and it was basically to set up your own business. But it was just like the business plan side of things. We didn't have to physically go and do it, but you had to do everything from like writing the business plans, sorting the logos out, doing all that sort of stuff. Anyway, this was right up my street. Absolutely, kind of loved this sort of. Like, this is what I love, and I absolutely smashed it out of the park with this project. So when I was younger, when I was living in Spain, I was obsessed with Wayne Lineker, and I don't know why. I just always wanted to be Wayne Lineker, like have nightclubs in Ibiza, Marbella, and all this sort of stuff. So what I did is I did this business plan to open up my own nightclub in Ibiza and Marbella, and I smashed it. Like, everybody else did like a 1-page little business plan. Mine was like 6 pages long. I did like a template of where all the tables and chairs were going to be, what sort of people I want performing, like who was going to work behind the bar, why they're going to work there, what staff I want. Literally everything. So I put all this together and we presented it in the class. And this teacher, for some reason, she just really didn't like me, and she was quite like patronizing in the way she was judging me. She was like, well, that wouldn't work. Like, she was putting me down when she wasn't doing it to anyone else.
Yeah.
So I said to her, I said, like, how old are you? And obviously she wouldn't tell me. And I said, so if you're a teacher at this college, I said, you've been to university for the last few years. I said, have you ever had your own business? Like, do you know what it's like to have a business? And she was like, yes. Like, while we were going through university, me and my friend had a yoga class. And I said to her, with respect, like, it's not really a business. Like, why are you telling me that what my business isn't going to work when you've never run one yourself? Like, she was just like, I don't know. It still winds me up to this day even to think about it. But she was one of them teachers that really put me down, and I've always had this problem with teachers. Like, I just never seem to really get on with them.
Do you think that came from having your own business from such an early age, that all of a sudden when you were being told how to do it, it was like, hang on, actually?
Exactly. It was almost like, even though I was like 16 years old, I felt like I had more experience than she did.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like I had more kind of authority to say whether it was going to work or not than she did. But it was the typical scenario, whereas when you're at school in education, the older person has to always be right. The teacher has to be right just because she's a teacher. And it's not always the case, because I found quite often that teachers weren't always right. So before I went to Spain, it's just another little story about why this doesn't work. Is before I went to Spain, I was that typical kid that used to sell like cans of Coke and all these sort of things at school. And me and one of my best friends, he was the naughty kid, and I used to just kind of get dragged along in his shadow. So if he got in trouble for something, I'd get in trouble for it. So anyway, we both started selling stuff at school. So I was selling cans of Coke, but I went out of my way to make sure that the cans I was selling didn't say not to be sold separately. You know the cans say like. So I bought them from Poundlands, like single cans, so that they didn't say that. So I was like, if I get caught at school, they can't tell me off for it because I haven't done anything wrong. And my friend Connor, like I said, he was the naughty one, and people always used to say to me and him, I think 3 people have said it to me from different places. They always either said, like, you two, like, if you stay friends forever, you're either both going to end up in prison or you're both going to end up millionaires. And funnily enough, I think he's actually in prison at the minute. I haven't spoke to him in a long time. But we actually got caught selling these cans, and they took, I think it was like 24 cans of Coke off me or something like that. And I went home and told my dad, and I was like, look, they've taken these off me. I haven't done anything wrong because they don't say this on the can, bloody, bloody, blah. He comes storming into the school with me, and he was like, give him his cans back. Like, you've got no right to take him off him. And he fully had, I don't see what you've done wrong. Like, you're making a bit of money at school. Like, you haven't done anything. And that kind of taught me back then that my dad, he'd stick up for me, and if I was in the wrong, he would bollock me for it. Like, he'd make sure I knew about it. But that was just another case of when like teachers thought they were right just because they're teachers.
So after that, you then went on to start, is it the Caviar Club? Yeah.
So yeah, when I was at college and we kind of had this argument with the business teacher, it got really bad and quite heated. So I ended up leaving that course, and my mum and dad were not happy about it. Like, obviously, so
yeah.
They said to me, they said, "What are you going to do?" And I said, "I want to earn money. Like, I don't want to go back to college and just waste my time. There's nothing I care enough about to go and spend time at college." So I ended up getting an apprenticeship in a state agency. And funnily enough, the only reason I applied for it is because I always liked the idea of wearing a suit. Just used to love wearing suits. So I thought, what job would I have to wear a suit? Applied for a state agency and I got it. Yeah, I really enjoyed working there. Did that for about a year. And then I got hired as a sales and marketing like manager for a hot tub and swimming pool company. So I was selling swimming pools and hot tubs. And during my time there, I was hired by a bloke called Chris, and he was a business partner in this company. And me and him used to just sit in the office, like during the winter when nobody wants to buy a hot tub or a swimming pool, you know. During the winter, we used to just sit in the office, just chatting away about business ideas and all these different things. And I said to him, like, I think you forget like you're my boss sometimes, because he's always trying to push me to always give me these ideas to leave the business. And I was like, I don't want to do it. He ended up selling his half of the company and leaving. So it kind of left me there with the other owner. That kind of, it was another situation where I was kind of like pushed out the door a bit and forced into doing something. So I started Caviar, but I was doing that while I was still working for this hot tub company. Yeah, so Caviar Club came about, and it was, I saw like a lot of people were starting their own brands, like clothing brands and all these sort of things. And I thought, if I do that, I'm just going to drown. Like, this was the same sort of time that Gymshark and people were like that were just starting. And do you know Hera London? Yeah, so they were just starting around this sort of time. And I think I followed them on Instagram when they had like 2,000 followers or something like that. And I was watching, and I saw they were getting like Gaz from Geordie Shore to promote it and stuff like that. And I thought, I don't really have the budget to get those sort of celebrities to be promoting my product. So what I did is I thought, what if I build a marketplace where people can come and buy that clothing all in one place? But then I found another website that already did that. So I was like, well, what if I did like exclusive, like members only clothing? So like proper designer clothing, but you had to be a member of Caviar Club to be able to buy it. So we would kind of source like high end, like limited edition clothing. Anyway, so I jumped in with 2 feet like I always do, started building the website, got the logo, absolutely smashed it. And then I did it in the wrong order. So I then found out how hard it was to actually source these clothes. And it was just impossible. Like, I had the idea, but I couldn't do it. Like, these big companies like Louis Vuitton and stuff, they just didn't want to sell to me. So I kind of had to adapt it a little bit. And in the end, I did end up starting my own clothing brand, because I thought, well, I've got the website, I've got everything I need. Like, I've spent all the money, I might as well try and do something with it. And that's what I did. So I created Caviar Club, the clothing brand, and I did that for a little while, but I sold it. So it didn't fail. I sold it for £800.
Okay, that's all right. That's good.
Yeah, so it wasn't a complete flop, but I definitely wouldn't call it a success. While I was doing that, I stumbled across Power Grip Sport, which was my next company, which really is the biggest company that I've had, that I'm proud to have to my name, really. What happened was my granddad owns a golf store, like an online golf store, sells a lot of stuff through eBay. He has this like hand solution that you put on your hands for golfers, and it stops their hands sweating when they're playing golf. Anyway, what he found was a lot of pole dancers were buying it, because as well as stopping your hand sliding when you play golf, it stops your hand sliding when pole dance. What we did is together we ended up getting this product and marketing it towards pole dancers. So we had all kind of like labels drawn up for it and all these sort of things. And that's where Power Grip Sport started. And then we started selling tons of these bottles. Like this grip stuff went mad. Like people were like doing reviews on it. It was going mad on Instagram. It was really good. And then obviously we just expanded into other things. Like we did gloves for pole dancing, like loads of pole dance accessories.
Okay.
And it was really good. I went back into doing a little bit of golf stuff, because he had suppliers that kind of did golf stuff cheap, so it was easy for me to get my hands on. I think one of my biggest regrets with it is that it wasn't something that I loved. Like, I know when you speak to a lot of business people and stuff, their like words of advice would be do something you love. Now, before I started Power Grip, I was like, that's just a load of crap. I love business, so I could run any business. And then when I was doing Power Grip, I did that full time for like 3 years. And then I started to find that I was just losing motivation for it, because I didn't care about golf. I don't care about pole dancing. Like, I've never done either of them in my life, and I'm meant to be like this professional that knows everything about it. And I think that's when I started losing a bit of motivation for it. Then I had a couple of friends of mine come along with the barbershop idea. And I know I spoke to you about it already. The barbershop was pitched to me, and it was these two lads and they wanted to open up their own barbershop, but they didn't know how to do it. They didn't know any of the business side. They just knew how to cut hair, and that's all they wanted to do. They didn't care about the business side of it. So they told me all about it. They told me their ideas, and I kind of went away with it. And I said, like, I want to do something that's like a social business. I want to get out there and interact with people. I was well up for this barbershop idea, because I thought, what could you get that's more social than a barbershop? So my idea is that I would open this shop, I'd get all the signage done, I'd kit the shop out, I'd make it look mint, and they would just hire it off me. So they could still run it exactly how they wanted, but they didn't have to put any money in, basically.
So it was going to be yours?
Yeah, exactly. So I could call it my barbershop. It would have my name above the door, if you like, but in fact, it actually did have my name above the door. But they could manage it exactly how they wanted. So it was a win-win for everybody, really. And then I bought the shop, I kitted it out, put all the signage up, made it look wicked. Like I loved that little shop. It was only small, but I thought it looked class for a barbershop. Both of them, unfortunately, the timing was horrendous, and both of them had quite big personal problems going on. And they both come to me at the same time, and they said, look, like, we can't do this anymore. We're just going to have to leave it.
Would you say that was quite a big learning curve for you, in the aspect of you've put all this money in and then all of a sudden people just drop out?
100%. You see all the time that everybody's always like, in business, like, you've got to take risks to get the rewards. However, this was just stupid. I don't know why I didn't get them to sign the contract. I don't know why I didn't put these things in place. I should have just got them to sign contracts, and it was a huge learning curve. And I'm one of them people that once I'm in, I'm like all in. So as soon as they put the idea in my head, I think within about 6 weeks, I bought the shop, had it all kitted out, the signs were up, and it was open, like, straight away. So maybe I went too fast for them and it scared them a bit. I don't know. Because I was all in, I didn't want to close this shop. Like, I didn't want to have my name above the door on something that's been open for a few weeks and then it closes again straight away. So in a desperate attempt to save it, I went up to Manchester for, it wasn't even a week, it was 5 days. I did an intensive barbering course, trying to learn how to cut hair. Bear in mind, it takes people years to learn how to do it. I did it. I told the trainer that that was coaching me that I had my own barbershop. Once I finish this course, I'm going back and I'm working in it by myself. And he absolutely pissed himself at me. He was like, you can't. He said, you can't do it. But I did it. I did it. I did this course. I went back. I opened the doors, got customers in. But it was one of them things where, like, I wasn't in a town centre, but I was on quite a busy street. So a lot of people were walking past. And every single person that walked past my window, as much as I wanted them to come in so I can take money off them and pay my bills, I was like, please don't come in, because I have no clue what I'm doing. But I just kind of blagged it. Like, people that came in never knew that I'd never done barbering before. And funnily enough, I actually had returning customers, so I couldn't have done too badly.
So that's quite a few businesses before the time you're sort of 20.
Yeah.
What would you say that other people, like, looking into that, see it as a weakness or a success?
In all honesty, I think everybody sees it as a weakness, but my way of looking at it is I try and explain this to people all the time, and some people get it and some people don't. But a lot of people from the age of I don't even know what age they go, but 16, 17, they go to university, 18, they go to university and they spend thousands of pounds on doing a course, and they leave and they've got no real life experience. They've got to go and get a job, but they've got no real life experience. Whereas I've probably spent less money than them. I mean, I've spent a lot of money on wasted businesses. Like I've wasted a lot of money, but I feel like I've not only learnt more than what I would have if I went to university to do a business course, but I've had that real life experience. I've dealt with real life problems. So I think, like, although other people see it as a weakness, I think it's my biggest strength. I feel like my friends list on Facebook must hate me because every week I've got a new page I'm trying to promote or something like that. And I think that's where they're like, bloody hell, here he goes again. Like, here's another idea. So yeah, to answer your question, I think it is a weakness, but to me, it's my biggest strength.
In terms of what you just mentioned about the people who know you are here we go again. Would you say that trying to be successful and doing what you're doing, you've lost any friends along the way? Or people have kind of looked down at you?
Yes, like I think everybody's always surprised at who it is as well. Like I've got some friends I was really close with. Like when I was in school in Spain, there was only 5 people in my whole year group. So everybody knew everyone, everything. Everybody knew, like we were all really close. And some of them are the people that kind of I thought were the biggest people in my lives, like at the time. And as soon as I started kind of going into like the business sort of stuff, they're the first ones that not necessarily them 5 people before they think I'm targeting them, but they're the first ones that unfollowed me and don't support it. Whereas like there's other people that you didn't really know too well, like when you're at school, or people that you've only met once or twice, and yet I get messages from people like that are like, I love what you're doing with that business, like that's a great idea, like if there's anything I can do to help, let me know. They're the first one to share my page on Facebook or invite their friends to, like, do you know what I mean? I get support from people that I don't know that well, and I feel like it's the closest people to you that I don't know really. Like maybe it's because they don't feel like I expect them to do it because we're so close. I don't know what the reason is.
You've just recently started Asteem.
Yes.
Tell us more.
So Asteem, it's almost going to be a combination of everything I've done in the past all put together. So there's 2 sides of Asteem. There's the bit that I just want to put out to the world, and there's a bit that I want to be part of, and there's the other bit that's the business that I need to make money from. So we've got the business side, which is a training company. So that's what Asteem is. So we do training in all sorts of things. So whether that's window tinting, beauty therapy, that's what Asteem is. We're partnering with loads of other training companies as well. So we're trying to offer as many training courses as we can, but we're only kind of working with companies that we think are like the best of the best, if that makes sense. So that was the business side of Asteem. But then we've got the other part of it that I just want to put out to the world, which is like events we're going to be doing. So this year's pretty much a write-off, so it's going to be from next year now, but I want to work with like universities, and basically we've got locations all over the UK that we're going to be partnering with a well-known company so we can use their facilities. And what we're going to do is we're going to have like motivational speakers, like influential people, all these sort of things, people that have done well in their industries, a little bit like your interviews that you're doing, but on a stage basically. So I'm not aiming to really make much money from that, but it's something that I've always wanted to be involved. So that's what Asteem is in a nutshell.
Do you ever get scared that you're perhaps taking on that little bit too much and maybe you should take it back? Because I know some people, if you put it in front of them and said, I'm doing this, 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 and this, they'll go, whoa. Whereas other people quite like to have lots to do.
Like I said earlier on in this interview, when I do something, I like to jump in with 2 feet. I have to keep excited about it. And that's the one thing I learned from having, when I had Power Grip, I was doing just the pole dance and stuff, and I was bored. Like I had to get the golf stuff. And then we went into like making football kits. We went into box. We did all this other stuff because I just got bored. And as much as it's because I didn't have a passion, it's because I was just chasing something. And whereas with Asteem, like that's why I'm so excited about it now, because there's so many different elements to it. I don't have a need to go and find something else and to go and do another business. Like I'm going to be doing obviously like the podcasts and stuff like that I spoke about, but apart from that, I'm not doing anything else. And even that kind of falls under the same umbrella. It's like the mentorship and like inspiring people and stuff like that. So it's one of them things, like I've learned to cut back and not take on too much. My head is constantly going with ideas. Like I'm like a little business machine, and I reckon I have between 5 and 10 new business ideas every day, because I think, you know what the world's missing? We need that. I think if you spread yourself too thin, it doesn't work very well. And that's why it's exciting.
Exactly. Well, that sounds absolutely fantastic. I wish you all the best of luck with Asteem.
Thank you very much.
Keep us updated.
Definitely will.
Now, I hope you all learned something from that video. Now, I know for me, what stood out the most was, even though Jay has had quite a few businesses, and some might see it as a negative sort of way of doing business. He doesn't. He sees it as a success because what he's done in the past is trial and error, and it's made him who he is today. You can follow Jay and his businesses here. Now, if you have someone that inspires you, comment below. I'm always so intrigued to find out who others find inspirational. Likewise, if you have an inspirational story to tell, comment below, drop me a message on social media, or even drop me an email. Now, on Sunday, I'll be speaking with reality TV star
Maya
Vanda from Netflix, Selling Sunsets. Don't forget to hit subscribe, and I'll see you all on Sunday at 4 o'clock. See you later.